What's up, guys? It's Zilla here. We are now at the 31-day mark of releasing a song every single day for the entire month. Now, what I want this video to be is a more of a one-on-one conversation with you guys about this process, how I'm feeling about the process, what I see happening in the future, giving you guys an idea of what happened this month and how it went for me. And yeah, if you guys want to see a more deep dive into the analytics and all that, I do those videos separately, which is just using my webcam and my computer and, using, OBS to show my, actual Spotify for artists and YouTube, etc. To show you guys the results of what's happening. And I just want to document this entire process because it is so much work that I'm putting into this. I don't want anything to be lost, as far as like, information that I can pull back from and say, like, oh, I remember I forgot that I said this, and maybe this was a good idea that I forgot about, or a mistake that I may have made that, I can look back and learn from. And so, anyway, I want to get into everything with you guys. This is not going to be edited or anything like that. No high production value besides maybe this little mic that I got off of a TikTok shop. But starting off, just want to thank you guys for watching. If you guys are interested in this journey, definitely pay attention to what I'm going to be, I post these every single, at the end of every single month. And if you guys enjoy this approach, then maybe I'll drop this during, every single week as well. But, hit the like and subscribe. And yeah, let's get into it. So, some lessons that I learned from this first month of releasing is the first biggest thing is that compilations are the biggest success point or the biggest part of the success of this project. So at the end of every single week, what I do releasing every single day, I take what I released that week and I compile it into a compilation on that Friday. So at the end of the week, it'll be the first 7 songs, then it'll be the next 7 songs, and so forth. And when it gets to the end of the month, I take all the songs throughout the month, and then I pile those into another compilation. And what this does is these songs that are not getting a lot of streams before Friday, which just give you an idea of what my audience is. It's about 150,000 monthly listeners on Spotify specifically, and that's mostly what I'm going to be focusing on today is the stats from and the information I get from Spotify for artists. But anyway, you know, I can drop a song on, let's say, a Monday or a Tuesday, and it gets like 50 streams in that entire day. But when I release the compilation, all of a sudden it's getting boosted along with the song that I have pitched for Release Radar. So that Release Radar pitch is going to get, is going to come through. I'm going to get a lot more streams because of Release Radar, but also it's going to boost up all these other tracks because not everybody, goes and listens to each single every single day, right? There are some people that enjoy, listening to music that way, but a lot of people like listening to albums. So I wanted to give them that option. And so that's why I started just compiling these all into these compilations. And it's really worked because all those tracks before that Friday get boosted with the new track that comes out on Friday. So that has been a huge part of the success. And especially now looking at what happened, you guys can see more information on this in the other video, but looking at what happened in the first month, uh, big compilation, which was about 31 tracks, it got boosted again, which was a theory that I had, seeing these get boosted, but are we going to get 2 boosts? And it looks like we are. So um that's kind of the coolest part, because it's kind of like having a little bit of release radar for every single song. They all get a little bit of a boost. So like that first compilation happens, those songs get a boost, right? And then at the end of the month, those songs are going to get boosted again. So they're going to find hopefully an audience. And at the end of the day, one other thing that I learned is that I can create a bunch of music, right? And I can think that, like, oh, this song is going to be a hit, but it doesn't necessarily always happen, right? Sometimes it's the songs that you don't expect to be hits that actually be the one that takes off. And keep in mind, for those who don't know, I'm posting content every single day for these songs. So I'm posting at least 4 times on TikTok for whatever song that is for that day. I'm also posting on Instagram Reels, on YouTube Shorts. It's also getting a YouTube video edited for that song. So at the end of the year, hypothetically, I've released, you know, 365 YouTube videos. Actually, probably even more than that. I'll get into that later. But also over 1,000, TikTok videos and just content put out there. So what happens with those songs? I have no idea. We'll have to see. At the end of the day, I give people the music and then they run with it. Either they love it or they don't, or, maybe some people like this like niche song that not everybody likes, but they do like. And so, um, at the end of the day, I don't have no power over like what is successful or what isn't. I mean, I've seen and I've tried to push songs and put money into songs that just don't work. I can think that they're the greatest thing in the world, but they just don't convert to an audience. They don't relate to that audience and it just doesn't work out, right? So that is another thing that I've kind of learned is, just let the music be, release the music and let people make their own judgments about whether or not they like it. And what's really cool about this project with me specifically is that I already have a big enough audience to kind of get a sample size of like whether or not this track is going to have life moving on forward. So, I mean, I was actually thinking about it recently and I was like, man, imagine if somebody with like a million monthly listeners did this project. I mean, if I'm finding this kind of success, and we'll get into it more, but if I'm finding success with this and I see foreseeable in the foreseeable future of this year, it growing, I can't imagine what would be, actually possible with an even bigger audience. But anyway, another thing that I want to focus on is, um, you know, the achievements that were had during this month. So it was actually really interesting how the first day comes, right, and I want to give you guys an insight into like my mindset here. You know, I have been working on these. I had been working on these songs, the ones that I was releasing in January, in August, right. So I was starting to build this up when I just got the crazy idea to do this project in the first place, and I started building up the songs and everything. And I have no idea like how these songs are going to perform. And the first day comes and I'm super excited, right? And this track comes out and it gets 40 streams or something like that, right? And I was like, man, oh, can I do this? It was like I think that was like, let me see, that day was a Wednesday, right? So I didn't have any kind of like release radar or anything like that. No cheat codes, right? It just plain just throwing something on all platforms, and specifically like where I was seeing this metric, on Spotify, 40 streams or something like that. And I was like, oh man, like I started it off with this song. It was like called 365. It was supposed to be like a big, intro to what I'm doing, and it got 40 streams. And I'm like, like, am I wasting my time doing this? Like, what am I getting myself into? Because I already have the first 2 months ready to go. Like, am I ready for what I'm about to get into, right? And I kid you not, Friday comes around. I don't get this release radar that I thought I was going to be getting. I get the song that ended up on release radar was a song that I released on Monday, was a collaboration with somebody else, not something that I even pitched. I'm not sure why Spotify put it on release radar. And I'm like, I'm so disappointed. I'm defeated. I'm like, oh my gosh, now I already have a problem here. I'm not even getting my release radar on the song that I plan to get a release radar on. And, that song is getting, 40, 50 streams or something like that in that day. And I'm like, oh man. But then I looked at that first song. I looked at that first song, 365 was is the name of it. The song that only got 40 streams in that first day, right? I look at it, and over the course of the next day, right, it had gotten like 40 streams or something like that, and then it had gotten like 50 streams or 60 streams, and then going into Friday, all of a sudden I'm looking at because you release these songs, you get live stats or whatever, and that's what's really cool about this whole project is that you're kind of always seeing like where these songs are coming or where these songs are going in a live setting. And I saw like a ton of streams coming into it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it went from like getting like 60 streams, which I mean, it was boosting up, right? It was gaining momentum. I was like, maybe people like the song. And then all of a sudden it got like 600 streams in one day. And I was like, what is going on? What happened? Well, I pitched it for Release Radar. That's the reason I was pitching it. But it ended up with an editorial. The first song that I released of this month, I don't listen, all last year, I did not get a release. I did not get an editorial at all, right? Did not get an editorial. And I mean, it's actually been a while since I've gotten an editorial placement, probably 2 years, to be honest with you. And the last time I got on a release or an editorial, it actually got messed up. I was in like number one on Tirade, and the song was messed up. My distribution messed it up or whatever. It actually showed us a lot about like how these songs are chosen for editorials because it was just repeating the first like 20 seconds of the song over and over again. And we got it fixed, but they took it off the editorial, and it was getting so many streams and everything, and it was super exciting, but it was not even the song, right? I mean, the song was just broken. And so ever since then, I haven't gotten an editorial. And then, I'm planning this whole thing. I have all these songs. I'm not expecting anything gigantic from these songs. It's more about consistency, right? And then the fact that the first song, I was getting down on it. And then, that Friday comes and, I didn't get a release radar and I was disappointed. And then all of a sudden it gets an editorial. It got on, for some reason, it got on New Music Friday Portugal. I'm not really sure why, but it ended up on an editorial, and I was like, wow, that's actually really cool to see that, like, hey, so, actually, something happened with the song already, right? And then comes the next thing that happened. A big AMV channel called Scroll. I've worked with them before. I've paid them money to post my music on their stuff, and usually they cost a heavy penny. I mean, we're talking like maybe like $500 to post on this AMV channel because it usually gets a lot of views. And they've worked with me before, but I've never received an email for them asking me to use one of my songs for free. I didn't have to pay a dime. And they wanted to use one of my songs that came out later on that week, which is called Mama. And I think it was in the first week. I believe so. I don't want to lead you guys astray, but it doesn't really matter, I guess. But it was something either in the first or second week. That song came out, and then all of a sudden, I'm getting this email saying like, "Hey, we want to use your song. We want to basically give it free promo, right?" And that was really cool. That was just unexpected. It was just like this is just a random song in the midst of 31 tracks that I'm dropping, and it's getting enough attention to where it wasn't even getting that many streams. To be honest with you, it's just like one of the editors just wanted to use it for an edit, and so they're like, "Hey, we'll do this for free. Can we use it?" So of course I said yes, and that ended up helping the song as well. Now, it didn't blow up or anything like that, right? But it did help, right? So that was cool. Then I'm posting these songs on TikTok, posting these songs on Instagram and things alike. And one of my songs is called He Who Must Not Be Killed. It's about Voldemort. By the way, for those who are not aware, I make songs based off of pop culture things. So it could be Harry Potter, for example, like this case, or Elden Ring, like a video game, or it could be an anime, or it could be a comic book character. Um, but anyway, in this case, this one was about Voldemort, and I was posting some content about it on TikTok, and then all of a sudden, just starts popping off. This song just starts gaining a lot of attention on TikTok anytime I posted it. Right? I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna dial in on this. and that ended up getting like there was like one post that got I think it's now reaching almost a half a million views on TikTok. And then I have another one that's about 100,000 views, and then another one that's um like 50,000 or something like that. So already, I mean, like that's huge. Like, wow, one of the random songs. Now it was one of the ones that I had a little bit more faith in, but I didn't expect it to blow up on TikTok or anything. And it converted into a lot of streams. That one didn't get on release radar, and I'll get into that in a second. But um, even without release radar, it was getting up to like over 1,000 streams a day just because of TikTok. And it's just one of those random songs that would have normally, if it did not, I didn't post content about it, it would have gotten like 50 streams a day. Maybe when the compilation came out, it would have gotten up to 100, something like that. But it found an audience on TikTok. And thankfully, I'm posting on TikTok. I'm not just letting these songs not have some kind of chance to find an audience outside of my current Spotify or YouTube audience. I'm trying to post them and see if they can find some kind of life outside of it to bring people from other platforms onto Spotify and the like. And that one, it worked. And there was another one that worked as well. It got some attention, but not as much, but it was enough attention to where I was like, okay, like I can continue doing this, right? And we can, continue trying things, and it's really fun, to be honest with you guys, to try new things. Always push myself. Like it's different. Like I usually would release every single week. Like this last year, I released every single week, and I've done that for the past uh, like 2 to 3 years now. I'm probably about 2 years, 2.5 years maybe now. But when you have like one track coming out on Friday, it's you kind of lose the motivation to promote it, or to like build it up or whatever. And then like when it's out, like you really don't want to promote it because now you're like kind of sick and tired of it, right? What makes this project a lot more fun, is that every single day is a new thing. It's like I always go to my schedule. I'm like, oh, what is the next song? And then I go and see. I'm like, oh, sweet, okay. I think I have an idea of how I can promote this and push the envelope or whatever. Experiment a little bit and see if I can find some better results in the way that I'm marketing it. And so every single day is a new challenge. Every single day is a new experience with a piece of my art, a piece of my music, right? And it's actually allowed me to appreciate my music way more because, I'm putting so much effort into putting this stuff together. And, the idea that like every single one of my songs I'm trying to find an audience for it. I'm trying, right? But I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. I'm not saying like, oh, like this song it has to do something because I'm putting all my hopes and dreams into it. I don't have to think about that. I'll only have to think about like that song on that day, and if it finds an audience, it finds an audience. Um, if it finds legs later on, if I don't see what it's doing right now, but like at the end of the month or maybe in the next month, it finds life, it gets added to a big playlist or something, it doesn't really matter. Or, somebody, offers to upload it on YouTube and then it gets millions of views, or somebody uses it on TikTok, whatever the case may be. Um, you know, uh, it just works better for my mind. I'm very like ADHD. I'm always like trying to figure out something new to do. And so this really is where my ADHD helps me in a lot of ways and allows me to kind of push the limits of what is possible, and more importantly what is possible for me, what I can achieve, what I can do, right? And I'll be honest with you guys, like I feel good about the whole thing, and like what's happened this month, and we're gonna get into more of like what the future holds. But uh, like as far as like you know mindset wise, I feel good. Like creatively, I still feel energized. When I start to get burnt out, I take a step back and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go play some video games or something like that. Maybe take like 3 or 4 days off, and then I'm like, all of a sudden, I'm like ready to get back in the studio and start creating something else. Another thing is like in the first month, I was trying to like really pump out these songs so I could get to the next month and everything like that. And I was like, had this mindset of like, I need to just like don't, try to perfect it or anything like that. Don't spend too much time. Like I was finishing a lot of these songs. Like I kid you not, like in like an hour. Like I would finish a song like an hour. Like in the morning, like I would get like sometimes 3 songs done in that one morning, right? And like in a few hours, right? And now, as time has gone by, I have found myself, because of the repetition, and this is the most important part, and the biggest reason why I'm doing this project in the first place is to get better, to improve with repetition. Over the course of these first 3 months, because I have the first 3 months set it right now, I'm about to work on the fourth month pretty soon. Um, I spent way more time on these songs than I had ever predicted, and the quality has improved so much. Like there are people that love the songs in the first month and they're super excited about them, right? But I'm just like, just wait till the next month. Wait till the next month, or wait till the third month or whatever. And I'm me as a creative. I love creating music and then going to my car and doing the car test. I love that feeling of having something new that I can like check out and like enjoy, and sometimes that gets artists in trouble because they put a lot of their eggs in that basket, right, on the songs that they really like, but it doesn't always work out that way. Doesn't always work. Like we have to keep in mind that we have our own biases about stuff, and so I have to kind of stop myself when it comes to that stuff. But like overall, like the idea of just like creating something and then going and testing it out and just jamming it and thinking about the future of like, oh man, like you guys are enjoying this song, you guys are enjoying this, like this is old news. Just wait till you hear what I got coming, 3 months down the line, you know. Um, it's just really exciting. It really it makes me excited, and I think that hopefully during this entire process, if I don't quit for whatever reason, I keep that fun aspect to it. And even though these songs are taking longer for me to get done, because I can probably get like one song done a day in my current, process. Hopefully I can like cut that in half and still be able to keep up the quality and then find new ways to make the quality even better in other ways, that is still efficient. um, that is my hope right now. Currently where I'm at right now, just to give you guys a little bit of insight into what I'm doing right now, I still have to upload the final compilation album, which is at the end of March. um, and so I have one more song that I need to get done to finish out that entire month. And that's another thing I want to touch on. The upload process of this is very intense. Um, some people get stressed out over uploading just one song to all platforms through their distribution service. I use Amuse, by the way, which they've worked out really well for me, by the way, just letting you guys know. No problems, no issues so far. I will let you guys know if there are in the future. But using, Amuse, I, go and upload these songs. I'm uploading them for every single day. Every single one has their own cover art that fits a certain style and aesthetic for whatever it is. Like for that month, they have like their own theme. And I upload all these, tracks except for the Fridays, right? And I have to wait for all those tracks to get approved, and then I can go in and do the compilations. So the first three compilations, I have to, they have to be set on those Fridays. So I take all those past 7 songs, and then I schedule that Friday drop for the compilations, and then moving on to the next one and moving on to the next one. Um, I have to wait for those to get approved, so that I have IRSC numbers for those releases, so that I can do the final compilation. That's where I'm at currently in March. And so, yeah, one thing that I wanted to talk about the upload process is that it's very therapeutic. I found it to be very therapeutic going and just like starting with the first track, and like let's say I have like 10 tracks to upload, or like all the tracks other than the compilations to upload, you know, bringing up the file and then like listening to it, and it's like, oh, picking my time for the TikTok or whatever, and like I can like kind of just relax and enjoy the process of uploading, and be focused in on it, right? So I don't make any mistakes, but at the same time I can like, you know enjoy the process of just like listening to the music, reflecting on what I did, and being excited for what may or may not come for this song, right? So, and think about content and things like that. Um, and so that's a big part of what this process I've come to really enjoy for whatever reason. Like I enjoy the process of doing that. Even the process of making the videos. I make the videos all myself for YouTube. I make AMVs. I make like visualizers or lyric videos. And right now I'm working on the videos for March, and it's just like it's very therapeutic. I get to enjoy the song in a new way and use a different part of my brain creatively, and that just really helps as well. Uh, yeah. So anyway, I want to get into before I wrap this up. I want to get into the future. Where is this going? Where is it? Where is it gone right now? Where are we going? So first off, want to point out that the first month got 100,000 streams on Spotify alone. Probably if we count YouTube, it's probably about 150,000, maybe more than that. Um, but that's great. I'm stoked on that. That means about 50,000, 40,000, or 50,000 was release radar, from doing the because my release radar usually is about 10,000, maybe 12,000 in the first week. So just keeping that in mind, that means probably about half was release radar, and everything else was organic and using those boosts to boost the songs up with the compilations and everything. So I can't think of that as anything other than a dub, especially since I missed a release radar. Though we did get an editorial placement, it's just not as high of a stream count as something like a release radar would be. But either way, we'll see how that works itself out in the second month after we get 4 release radars. But let's just say 1,000 streams in the first month. I did a little bit of digging into like the math part. I fed it to ChatGPT and I asked it. I said, okay, if every single month we're getting 100,000 streams, which is pretty easy ask, okay, for my current audience and like what I'm doing. If it gets 100,000 streams in the next month and the months following, every single month it drops 50% in streams. What will the streams total for the entire year be after 365 songs? And it gave me 2.5 million streams at the end of the month. I mean, at the end of the year, right? And I was like, okay, that's interesting. What about 25%, right? 25% would be about 3.5 million, somewhere around that, right? And I was like, okay, well, that's actually really interesting. What is the first month going to look like in December, for example, right? You know what it told me? A 25% at the dropping every single day or every single month. At the end of the year, it'll be about 4,000 streams for that entire like 31 track album. Yeah, 4,000 streams for the month of December. And I was like, that's not happening. That's just not happening. Like I'm looking